The Uncertain Silence. Chapter 1. The Echoes of Memories. The town of Ravenswood was a place I thought I'd left behind, lost in the haze of my childhood memories and youthful rebellion. Yet here I stood once more, clutching a cardboard box filled with fragile dreams as the autumn wind howled through the desolate streets. 20 years had passed since those halcyon days when laughter echoed through our quiet neighborhood and sunsets painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold. Time had seemingly stood still for this place. It seemed as though yesterday I walked these same cracked sidewalks, hand in hand with my mother towards the old oak tree where we carved our initials. Now it was different. Every step felt heavy with the weight of time's passage. Liam O'Connor stepped out of his rusty sedan and onto the weathered driveway leading up to 143 Oakwood Street. My childhood home, a Victorian house cloaked in an eerie stillness that made my breath catch in my throat. Gray paint chipped and peeling, shutters hanging by threads from rusted hinges. It stood as if waiting for its last breath of life to be extinguished. A faint whisper tickled the edge of perception. A soft, raspy voice I couldn't quite grasp. Unsettling, but likely just the wind or a trick of the fading light, I thought. The front door creaked in welcome, betraying years of neglect as it opened on its hinges with a sigh. Inside, the musty air enveloped me, heavy with secrets and forgotten tales. Dust danced through shafts of sunlight that pierced the closed curtains like specters. I wandered from room to room, tracing lines of time across faded photographs and half that remembered conversations. Every object held a story, each piece of furniture bearing witness to laughter and tears, to life's everyday moments. Yet amidst these relics of memories lay an unsettling sense of unease that prickled at the back of my mind. Shadows darted in corners, their presence more felt than seen. Whispers grew louder, weaving between walls I couldn't quite decipher. The echoes of years past blended with the whispers now, a language only my imagination could understand. At night, they intensified, swirling into unintelligible murmurs that seeped through the walls as if trying to be heard above the oppressive quiet. I'd grown accustomed to them by dawn, but the sound still kept me awake. In this silent house with too many stories, sleep was a distant guest. In the kitchen, a plate on the counter bore the remnants of last night's uneaten dinner, and next to it sat a note. "Welcome home, Liam." I recognized my mother's handwriting, though it seemed to belong to a stranger. A chill crept up my spine as I read between lines. "It's good to have you back. You know what they say about the silence being golden." I couldn't fathom her meaning or purpose in leaving it here. The kitchen clock told 12 a.m., its rhythmic chimes piercing the unnatural hush. I pulled on a worn jacket and ventured into the night, embracing the biting chill that had set before sunset. Stars were scattered across the sky like diamonds thrown by an absent hand. Shadows seemed to shift at the periphery of my vision, dark silhouettes playing hide dot and at seek against tree trunks and the old oak. My mind's eye painted them as a trick of fatigue, but my racing heart betrayed me. Whispers began to sound more defined. "Wake, wake." Their urgent plea for attention sent icy tendrils down my spine. I stepped closer to the massive sentinel, placing a palm on its gnarled trunk, and was startled by a faint brush against my ear. A soft whisper breathed in a language I didn't speak. "Liam?" I spun around. No one. The wind had died, replaced with an unsettling stillness that robbed even crickets of their song. The tree stood sentinel, swaying ever so slightly, as if listening to the whispers. I fled towards the porch steps, each creaking board echoing through the night like a confession. In my room, curtains billowed in a breeze absent from sight or sky, revealing an unmade bed and relics of a forgotten era. My childhood's detritus on shelves now gathering dust. The room felt watched even when alone. I retreated beneath the covers, ears straining for anything out of place amidst the growing cacophony. When dawn broke, daylight brought solace. Silence hung heavy, but was no longer oppressive. Liam O'Connor stared at a faded poster of his old hockey team, an incongruous relic from a life once full of promise. My studies in journalism had taken me far away from this sleepy town to the city's heart. My return was a temporary reprieve, a last attempt to find solace after my mother's passing. It seemed I wasn't alone anymore. Whispers now carried words and phrases, sometimes even names, but never clear enough for comprehension. In hushed tones, it spoke of things best left buried, and I questioned the sanity clinging to these haunting sounds. One phrase repeated itself. Find. An icy dread gripped my stomach as I grabbed my journal, a tool of a bygone era that held power in capturing life's truths, yet seemed inadequate against this unfolding mystery. That day, while dusting cobwebs from bookshelves, the room was bathed in sunlight when it should have been nightfall. Shadows lengthened and contorted, dark wisps curling around my form as I stared at an old picture. My parents on a beach vacation. It wasn't just shadows anymore. It was movement, a sinister dance within the walls that made the air vibrate with unseen life. A faint tracing of blood red across the photograph caught my eye. Panic clawed its way through me. I yanked it from the frame, heart pounding in my chest as I stared at the faded image. A crimson smear spreading on the edges. Flicking on a lamp revealed no stain, only the fading snapshot beneath smudged fingers. The blood was mine. In the reflection of the glass, shadows moved like tendrils of smoke. An unfamiliar number flashed on my phone, one ring before it fell silent. A chill ran through me as I stared at the screen. I recognized Alex's voice, a friend from years past who'd also left Ravenswood in pursuit of dreams. The once carefree laughter of our youth seemed ages away now that I faced this enigma alone. His voice carried warmth with it, like a long-lost solace. I always said you were the curious one, he chuckled on my voicemail message. Remember those strange happenings when we were young? Thought I'd drop by and help solve some mysteries. The first real conversation in years had been set into motion by his words alone. Chapter 2. The Uninvited Guest. Alex materialized at the door, a familiar smile fading as he took in my disheveled appearance. What's going on here? His gaze landed on me, then the room, shadows that danced across floorboards like restless spirits. Damn, Liam, you really have gone crazy. I hesitated to speak of the strange events. Instead, the echoes and the blood got red streaks on our childhood photographs. The whispers had grown louder, almost pleading. They seemed tied to Alex's arrival. I showed him my journal, and he leafed through it cautiously, lips pressed into a thin line. This wake thing, you think it's connected? His voice was low, laced with skepticism, yet curiosity. You've been here 3 weeks, and you're telling me this? The house is playing tricks on you. We'd always balanced each other, but now there was another presence lurking between the lines of our conversations. A palpable unease. Outside, night silence was shattered by shattering glass in the back door, followed by skittering gravel and heavy steps. A figure moved towards us, cloaked beneath an overhanging eave. The door swung open with force to reveal my mother's nurse, Mrs. Jenkins. She'd been a constant presence in our lives before her own health issues forced relocation. "Girls have come," was all I managed as she entered, pale and huddled. "Your girls?" Alex asked, his tone laced with disbelief. She vanished into the night, re-emerging with two young women, eyes wide beneath streetlights filtering through trees. My breath caught on the first glimpse of their faces. The same girls we'd once babysat, daughters of neighbors now gone. Their gazes bore secrets and a deep unease. "We've been drawn in," said one. "Something wants us to wake." Alex and I exchanged a look. These events had turned from unsettling to inexplicable. They spoke of dreams they couldn't control, waking in the night with a sense of urgency that lingered long after dawn. An unseen force seemed to be calling us forth, drawing them to this place. I realized then it wasn't the house. It was me, my mother's passing, and the whispers growing louder, more urgent. In the dead of night, we found our way to her bedroom. On the bed, a journal had been left open. Blood-red script spilled across each page as I turned them. A message in crimson caught my breath. "Wake up, wake us all." I glanced at Alex. He read the same dread in me. We pored over the journals, and though blood was present on every page, no explanation. In their midst, a single phrase repeated like an incantation. "They are coming. They need to wake us." As we left her room, an icy draft pulled curtains as if beckoning something else into our lives. On our way down the stairs, I noticed Jenkins' door was open. Her eyes, once full of warmth and wisdom, bore a haunted look as they'd never known before. "Listen to them," she implored, voice trembling. "They won't harm you." Shadows danced around us in an unnerving rhythm. We retreated to the living room, where shadows twisted into grotesque forms like they sought freedom from darkness. The girls spoke of waking during the night with a sense of purpose, as if something outside their control called them out. We exchanged knowing glances. There was more than just echoes here now. "Wake up, wake us all," echoed again in unison. Voices joined in an eerie chant that reverberated through my chest. Jenkins vanished into the night with a parting glance, leaving Alex and me to unravel the mystery together. I couldn't shake off the feeling we were trespassers within our own home. We dug deeper, scouring records of old newspaper clippings for any connection between them all. The dreams they spoke of, my mother's passing, or a sinister force driving this awakening. In an abandoned office downtown, a hidden safe was discovered beneath my father's desk. The catchphrase from childhood games, "They're coming," scrawled across the back of each photograph within. Our faces stared up at us with eyes too old for our years. My first instinct was to leave Ravenswood, but couldn't shake an unsettling feeling that those who slept could be the key to unraveling it all. We returned, reeling from what we'd unearthed, and the whispers reached a deafening pitch, as if in response to our findings. Secrets buried beneath this town's facade. Outside, Alex faced me with a curious look. Eyes wide, he asked, "Do you feel restless?" In that moment, I knew something wanted us awake. Chapter 3. The Final Curtain Call. The next morning was different. The room hummed with an almost palpable energy. Shadows coalescing before our very eyes into an amorphous mass of dread and hunger. We were no longer alone in this house. The girls arrived, trembling as we found them. "Wake up, wake us all," they chimed in unison. I had always believed their dreams held the key. Now my life depended on theirs. At dusk, Alex spoke of stories from our childhood. A local legend about women who came out of their homes, drawn by some insatiable hunger during the first night of the full moon each month. The women of Ravenswood were said to awaken with an otherworldly thirst and roam, driven by an unseen force that demanded human blood. The first girl, Sarah, claimed it began 2 nights hence, but a dream had her running naked in the moonlight before I could stop her. We tried to intervene as she fled into darkness. They chased each other, all of them, with hunger's gleam in their eyes, driven by an alien urge for blood. They've been awakened. But at what cost? We ran for our lives, but were too late to save the second girl. In that moment, I saw something ancient and old in them. Hunger was just a symptom of their awakening. My mother had spoken of this. Women who fed, and the dark creature born from bloodlust. They would lead us into the heart of Ravenswood Forest at nightfall. Sarah, now feral and unrecognizable, fled as I watched her tear through my backyard, hunger in her eyes, leaving me alone to face an unseen evil under a moon too full to be natural. The echoes of their coming reverberated from all corners, like a call to arms against the women. We'd been drawn by some force into their waking nightmares. The woods beckoned us as they roamed the streets, feeding on their own kin, bloodlust consuming them fully. It was now or never. We had to wake up before we became part of this darkness. Alex and I faced the women, 6 of them in all, driven by a hunger so primal it seemed almost feral. They bore no resemblance to our childhood friends anymore, and I'd given up on finding humanity within their eyes. We needed answers or risk succumbing to that first night's bloodlust forever, trapped between worlds. The creatures of the night now knew us, and we would have to face them. 2 against 6 alone. We were outcasts among our own kind. For a moment, their hunger for flesh was replaced with an insatiable longing in those hollowed eyes. They yearned to be human again. I took my first bite of one who bore the resemblance of Sarah and savored blood that wasn't quite blood. Bloodlust swept through me, but I knew what we'd chosen. A life where every night was an endless fight for control over primal urges. We roamed with them in Ravenswood Forest's heart. Creatures no longer in their right minds prowled under the moonlight, and now 2 of us bore their curse. And then it dawned on me. I had to give blood, but who could I turn to? In my desperation, I'd found a way back to the first night's balance. To be human. Our eyes met. Alex no longer looked at me with friendship. He saw an unnatural hunger in mine. We parted as I sought solace under a moon that had changed us forever. Alex now bore feral marks on his skin, the scars of his awakening evident across his neck and chest like claw marks from some unseen creature. The bloodlust raged still within him too, but it wasn't absolute. The transformation was not complete yet. He hadn't fed fully. And what of my mother? Where did her dreams fall in this ritual? I'll tell you where I woke up to a hunger, Alex said, and it's not in the forest. The girls, now feral, roamed Ravenswood Forest that first night under the full moon. They were no longer little girls. The creature that awakened them, a monster of our making, hunted us relentlessly. Bloodlust had taken over their hearts. But there was hope. We could control this newfound beast within ourselves, as my mother once had, or so I believed. We sought answers in her old journals, and I found a ritual to control the hunger. Salt on open wounds to ease pain during these awakening nights. There were stories of others who'd come before us. Women who found peace in drinking from the heart blood of girls, their own bloodlust sated, yet not consumed by it completely. The hunt continued under moonlight. 2 against feral prey, our hearts pounding. The hunger never abated but could be managed, a constant reminder that we were still within reach of humanity. Blood splattered on her face, before she lunged at us with an unnatural strength that threatened to consume all. I'd seen them as children, and now I faced what they had become. Alex found solace in the ritual. His wounds began healing faster than mine did from salt that soaked cuts, suggesting there was hope for control. A glimmer of the girl she once was appeared in Sarah's eyes before her feral gaze reclaimed itself. For a moment, she saw me, and I knew this was forever. We roamed through town that night as one species, a creature of the night with a hunger that could be contained. Bloodlust still pulsed within us, but it wasn't absolute. We'd found control in drinking blood from girls who bore no resemblance to their former selves. Sarah, my childhood friend, had been awakened too late to save her. No words needed as we ran together. We were creatures of the night now. There was a chance at peace during the full moon. I sought out Sarah's heart blood and drank deeply in the aftermath of what I'd done. The echoes still lingered, but under the first light of dawn, the allure of bloodlust vanished, and so did my feral hunger. "I need to know if it works with them all," Sarah said. "We have to test this ritual on every girl we can find." Sarah's words rang in my ears until I awoke that morning, alone once more under my bed where nightmares began. The bloodlust was back, and it wasn't only from girls. It had grown worse and threatened to consume me completely. I'd failed them both. Bloodstained clothes were all they wore. They'd followed us into the world of the living, a silent witness to our nightmare until one day, Sarah died, and I awoke alone once more with bloodlust consuming me. There was no escape from this curse.